Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be doing another try a volume video. If you don't know what this is, basically I've been trying out a bunch of volume 1s that have come out recently or not so recently, and I'm going to share my first impressions of those series with you. Last time I did one of these videos, pretty much all the volumes were ones I enjoyed. This time we're kind of the opposite, where I only really enjoyed a couple of them and the other ones were either meh to I did not like them at all. These are also in the order that I read them, so if it seems kind of random, that's just how I decided to go about reading them. So the first one I read was Sketchy Volume 1. This is a skateboarding manga. We follow our main character here on the front. She is in her 30s. She works a pretty dead-end job at a video rental store. She has a boyfriend, but he is pretty selfish, I would say. He's very much focused on his own things and his own desires, and he doesn't really care what she has going on, and I feel like they're really only together just out of convenience. She really has no goals or plans for her future at all, but one day she comes across a group of girls who are skateboarding, and she becomes interested in it and does some research and decides that this is something she wants to pursue. I really enjoyed this first volume. What was surprising to me is that we don't just follow Akko. There's a few other women who are kind of in similar situations. They're all feeling a little bit aimless, and through one way or another they become interested in skateboarding, and I imagine in the future they're going to become friends. Now, when I hauled this manga, I did mention on the back that it says it's a josei manga, which is just factually untrue. This is published in a seinen magazine. However, I will say I can understand why some people would read this and think it's a josei manga, because it is so focused on women and their stories. The only male characters in here are very minor. There's some coaches and then the aforementioned boyfriend, who is not a positive character, but the women in here are dealing with relationship issues, pressure from their families, either because they want them to get married or because of their careers or lack thereof. It's just very women focused, so I can understand why someone would think it's a josei manga. That does not excuse Kodansha for putting that it's a josei manga on the back of the volume, because it's just factually untrue. But I do think if you enjoy manga that are more focused on women and their everyday struggles, as many josei manga tend to explore, then I think you will enjoy this one. I have seen a few people say that they weren't as interested in the other female characters as Akko, but I found all their stories interesting so far. We're just getting a little bit into the other two women, and I don't know if there will be more later on in future volumes, but I enjoyed them as well. I'm interested to learn more about them. This manga will be 6 volumes in total, so not a huge commitment. And as I mentioned before, I've never read a skateboarding manga before, so that was really cool. I don't really think there's going to be any tournaments. It's really just these characters finally finding something that is fun to them and that they're interested in. I enjoyed the art. I didn't think it was anything amazing, but I did like how all the panels felt full without feeling cluttered, if that makes sense. And I felt like the skateboarding scenes were dynamic enough to feel realistic. I also liked that in between chapters there were little sections that were about real life female skateboarders, so those were nice to read. But overall, definitely a very strong first volume, one of the better ones in this selection of manga that I read for this video, so this is one I would recommend if that sounds interesting to you. Next, I read the first volume that kind of started my issue that I have with these manga, but this was Tsugumi Project. This takes place 200 years after Japan has been basically destroyed by nuclear warfare, leaving it pretty much uninhabitable. We follow Leon. He is a French man who has been falsely accused of espionage, and he, along with a few other prisoners, are sent to Japan to find a weapon that is supposedly still there. However, on this island there are some interesting ape-like monsters that create a conflict and a sense of danger on the island besides just the threat of radiation. So I thought this volume was fine. It is a little bit style over substance. As I mentioned when I hauled it, the art is really, really nice. Here's a nice double page spread, very highly detailed art. A little bit sketchy, but I don't mind that. So it looks really cool. The monsters are interesting, and I'm sure there's more to learn about them. But at least so far, it was mostly just, this is cool, and not, I'm incredibly interested in what's happening, or these characters are great. The main character is fine. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the main character of Hell's Paradise. In fact, this entire manga kind of feels a little bit like Hell's Paradise. I just didn't feel like this was incredibly deep or anything, which not all manga have to be, obviously, but maybe that's what I'm looking for recently. But I did enjoy it. I did find it fun. So I'm going to be picking up the next few volumes. This one I think is also a shorter series. I want to say it's 7 volumes completed. And of course, I do love a post-apocalyptic story, so I will be continuing this one as well, although I'm not as interested in this one as the previous Sketchy. But they're very different stories, so there's no reason for me to compare them anyway. But the pattern that this manga started, that you will see more of later, is the monsters. There were many manga I read that had monsters in them, and some of them were a lot better than other ones. But one that didn't have any monsters in it was Tokyo Tarareba Girls, Volume 1. This manga is about 3 women. They are friends. They're all 33 years old, and they're all single. They meet up at a pub thing, and they all very loudly complain about their issues, whether it's their families or their work, or, as is often the case, their love lives or lack thereof. At the time that this is set, the Tokyo 2020 Olympics were recently announced, and because of this, they're all really feeling pressure to get in relationships. They don't want to see the Olympics by themselves or be single during this time. They want someone to watch the Olympics with, as if watching it by yourself is like a horrible conundrum. So this doesn't sound like something I would ever enjoy, but I picked it up because it's by Akiko Higashimura, and there is nobody who makes me laugh like Akiko Higashimura. Princess Jellyfish is a manga that I probably wouldn't be interested in, but I laughed so much that I really, really enjoyed that manga. And this one is very, very similar in that regard. I found this manga so funny, and I actually think the comedy is very important for this story. Not only does it show just how ridiculous these characters are, it definitely pokes fun at them, but it also kind of balances out the genuinely bittersweet moments or sad moments that are present in here. These women, especially our main character, definitely have self-esteem issues, and they're really feeling pressure from their families because they are not married and they are supposedly older. So if this was a more serious story about these topics, I probably would not have enjoyed it. But it was just so funny that I really had a great time with this first volume. I love the friendship between these 3 characters. I love how flawed these characters are. And I love that Akiko Higashimura is not afraid of writing a main character who is definitely a girl failure. Obviously, I enjoy like very serious, dignified, successful female characters as well. But I love a good girl failure character. They're very fun, and I feel like I don't see enough of them in manga. Maybe I'm not reading the correct manga. So, needless to say, I will be picking up the rest of these volumes as well. I want to say there's 9 in this completed series. At this point, I'm pretty sure I will pick up any Akiko Higashimura work that we get in English, because, again, I just do not laugh as loud as often reading any other mangaka's work, so I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of this as well. The next manga I read was Snowball Earth Volume 1. In this manga, we follow Tetsuo. He is a pilot of a big giant robot, and he pilots this robot in order to fight big giant alien monsters. However, one day something goes wrong, and the big giant robot explodes, sending him back to Earth. Little does he know that the Earth is pretty much destroyed. It's covered in ice and snow, and humanity is in ruins and still under attack from these alien creatures. Now, unlike Tokyo Tarareba Girls, where the comedy is very well balanced, in here I felt like there's just way too much comedy for how dark this story is trying to be. Like, we're dealing with the end of humanity as we know it, and they're cracking jokes all the time, and that is not the type of post-apocalyptic story I want to be reading. It just feels very juvenile. Tetsuo's reason for being a pilot seems very silly to me, and at this point we don't get pretty much any explanation for the monsters, or kaiju as they're called, and their reason for attacking the Earth. We might, I'm sure, get more of that later, but it was just not satisfying in this volume at all. Also, Tetsuo himself is not an interesting character to me. He is basically lonely because he has no friends except for his giant robot, and so he's very socially awkward, and basically he just goes around over and over again saying how much he'd like friends, but he can't make any. This one definitely had a lot of similarities to Kaiju number 8, which is another manga that I've pretty much dropped. I did enjoy it for a while, but I haven't read it in a long time and I don't really feel the need to read it anymore. So I'm saying all this, and I did not really enjoy this volume, but I will read one more just because it is a post-apocalyptic story, and I do like those, so it has the potential to get better for me. Also, I already pre-ordered the second volume, so I might as well just read volume 2, and if I'm still not enjoying it at all by then this is a very easy manga that I will drop. And then after that, I read another manga with more monsters, and that was Gokurakugai. This is about these two people on the cover. They are basically a part of this troubleshooting agency that takes cases and investigates and usually destroys monsters because they're attacking people or whatever. In this manga, the monsters are called Manga, and they are a result of people being resurrected, which sounds like it would be cool and dark, but it's not. Having said that, I don't actually think there's anything wrong with this volume. It doesn't advertise itself falsely. It is a monster fighting manga. The art is very cool, especially the fight scenes. The main characters are fine. I do like their designs, but there's just so many monster fighting manga, and I don't want to read anymore. I've already talked about 3 of them in this video, and I have another one to talk about in a minute, but the monsters in here are just not unique enough to be interesting. In fact, I feel like I've seen monsters that look exactly like this in like 3 other manga. So there's really just nothing that makes me excited to read more of this. It doesn't stand out at all. So this is one I'm definitely not going to be reading any more of, unless I hear it gets like exponentially better. If that's the case, then I'll just read it on the Shonen Jump app. I'm pretty sure that's where it is. If I'm going to be reading any new monster fighting manga, they have to be more unique than this one is. So this one was another pretty easy drop from me. And fortunately, this next one is, yes, another monster fighting manga, but this one is a little bit more unique. So I have A Kingdom of Quartz, Volume 1. This takes place in a world which is ruled over by a goddess who created 2 creatures to kind of balance out the world because it was overrun with chaos. So we have angels and we have demons. We follow Blue. She is a young girl and she dreams of becoming an angel eventually to defend the kingdom against the demons. But the problem is she has these mysterious black wings that nobody else seems to have. There are some people who have like 1 wing or no wings, but I haven't seen yet anybody that has black wings. Anyway, she lives in an orphanage, and one day this orphanage is attacked, and everything after that changes. I'm not going to say anything more about the premise of this manga. I did really enjoy this first volume though. The art in particular is very beautiful. It does remind me a little bit of Witch Hat Atelier in the art style, but not quite as detailed. Now this manga definitely has unique monsters. The demons in here, the way they're drawn is so interesting. I'm not going to spoil what they look like, but I already have so many guesses on what that could mean. There's quite a bit of mystery in here, lots of things to analyze, which I definitely enjoy. I like a manga that makes me think a lot. In particular, I want to know more about the world and how it came to exist and why, because it does seem like there is some kind of remnants from our world, like there's talk of humans that existed at one point. So I obviously want to learn more about that. If I have one criticism for this volume, it's that I felt like the pacing was a little bit too fast, especially in the first half of this volume. I felt like that first half should have been stretched out to the entire volume, and we should have had a big conflict at the end. But it's not a deal breaker, obviously. I did still enjoy this manga. It also kind of reminds me of Land of the Lustrous a little bit, just a little bit. I don't know why, really. But if you enjoy that manga, maybe try this one as well. But see, I can enjoy monster fighting manga. I do still like them, but only if they're unique and not the same thing that we've seen hundreds of times before. So this is another one that I will be continuing for sure. And the last manga I have to talk about in this video is one that I've already unhauled. I gave this one to my friend when I saw her about a week ago. This is The Fable Volume 1. If you are somehow not aware, because this manga is very popular right now, this is about a hitman named The Fable. He doesn't call himself that, but he's pretty famous and many other people have called him that. But his boss has decided that he has been too successful at killing people recently, so he needs to lie low for 1 year and not kill anybody, and that's pretty much it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, I don't actually have any criticism for this manga. I don't think it did anything wrong. I think it did exactly what it was trying to do. It's so far, a slice of life manga about this guy who's trying to get back into society and not blow his cover. There's some Yakuza/crime things going on. It's exactly what it says it is. but unfortunately I don't enjoy any of those things. I shouldn't have even bought this manga because there are very, very few times that I enjoy a manga that focuses on organized crime, like Yakuza and stuff. I just don't like reading them, and we all know my issues with slice of life manga. So combining those two things, there was almost no chance that I was going to enjoy it anyway, but so many people talked about it and said how good it was that I decided to give it a chance. Unfortunately, it didn't surprise me though. I did think it was a little bit funny at some moments, but definitely not as funny as the author was trying to make it seem. But comedy is subjective. Not all comedy manga are going to make every single person that reads it laugh, and unfortunately, this one didn't do it for me. But because of this, I have definitely drawn a line where if I don't think I'm going to enjoy a manga, or I don't think there's a very high chance that I will enjoy a manga, I'm not going to pick it up no matter how hyped it is. I know recently there is a slice of life manga that has come out called Curiosity, I think. That one is getting very, very positive reviews, but I'm not going to pick it up because there's simply no way that I will love that manga. And contrary to how it may seem, I don't like being a manga hater all the time. It's actually not fun for me, so I'm going to stop picking up things and giving things a chance just because they're very hyped up. This seems like common sense and something I should have learned a long time ago, but I've decided to draw the line. I'm done. So unfortunately, we're ending this video on kind of a low note, but there are some new manga coming out soon that I'm looking forward to. I probably don't have enough to make another one of these videos for a while, but Fool Night is coming out in like a week when I'm filming this, a week or two, and that is one I will definitely be picking up. I will probably talk about my thoughts on that one in another reading vlog. I can't think of anything else that's coming out right now, but that one I am definitely looking forward to. So if you've read any of these manga and you had any thoughts on them, whether they're positive or negative, please let me know those comments down below. I love to hear from you, but that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!